Xiaomi is a brand that never ceases to surprise us when it comes to pricing. But with the Mi Note 3, they've gone a slightly different route. A larger flagship series of old now comes with a mid-range chip, but it's priced at, basically the price of its flagship phone, the Mi 6. So should you just stop watching this video and ignore this one? Nope, there is a twist in this tale, so stay tuned to learn more about it. This is Sundar, you're watching C4E Tech, and this is our full review of the Xiaomi Mi Note 3. Before we start, I know we are a bit too late with this review. Even then, we made sure this video looked every bit as good and pleasing to your eyes as the other ones. So we'd really appreciate it if you hit thumbs up, subscribe and that bell icon. Let's now get started. As always, let's begin with the build and design. The Mi Note 3 is not only priced the same as the Mi 6, but also looks identical to it. The design, the ultrasonic fingerprint scanner, the button placements, the presence of an IR blaster, and the absence of a 3.5mm headphone jack. Why Xiaomi? So where does the difference kick in? In case you haven't figured out yet, the Mi Note 3 is taller and wider, and also has a larger 5.5-inch display compared to 5.15 on the Mi 6. If you watched our Mi 6 review, you'd know that we felt it was a tad too heavy, but the Mi Note 3, despite the bigger footprint, weighs 5 grams lighter than the Mi 6. Not a huge difference, but since that weight is spread across a larger area, it feels a lot lighter in hand. Of course, it's not single-handed usage friendly, but the premium feel is retained. The buttons are clicky, the feedback's good. The glass back does get slippery and is prone to fingerprints and smudges, but for what it's worth, Xiaomi's included a thin silicone case with the phone. Talking about fingerprints, the ultrasonic fingerprint scanner that we initially saw on the Mi 5S, well, that was slow, but we've come a long way now, and the one on this one is extremely fast and accurate. Probably as fast or even faster than the OnePlus 5T scanner. Moving on, Xiaomi haven't excluded anything from the build and design just for the sake of widening the gap between the Mi Note 3 and the Mi 6, and that's nice, I like that. We have all the little things that matter, except for the headphone jack that I already mentioned. We've got all the basic sensors and radio in place, including support for Geo VoLTE. The cellular reception was good, had no issues with it. The audio via the earpiece was adequately loud and clear, so was the audio via the Type-C port. We used Xiaomi's own Type-C earphones to test it. I was even more satisfied with the stereo speakers. The audio was crisp, clear, punchy, and got quite loud as well. And while I don't really crave for an IR blaster when I'm testing phones, I did end up using it quite a lot while testing this. It is indeed a handy feature that most of you would love to have, just like the notification LED found above the display. This display uses an LCD panel, again just like on the Mi 6. The resolution is the same, Full HD, but since the pixels are spread over a larger area, the pixel density is down to about 400 pixels per inch. It's still sharp enough for everything but PR. The viewing angles and color reproduction are excellent, the display gets plenty bright, but the screen gets a little reflective. I feel it's not as good as the Mi 6 when it comes to outdoor usage under bright light. It's worth noting that the display is covered by 2.5D Gorilla Glass 4. One of the very few key differences between the Note 3 and the Mi 6 happens to be under the hood. The Mi Note 3 is powered by the Snapdragon 660 chip, basically the successor to the Snapdragon 652 and 653 chips found underneath the likes of the Galaxy A9 Pro and the Oppo F3 Plus respectively. The 660 is faster, but the more important thing is that it's also manufactured on the 14nm FinFET technology, compared to the 28nm technology the 652 and 653 are manufactured on, meaning it's a lot more power efficient. Now this, along with the moderately huge 3500 mAh battery, proved to be an amazing combination in my time with the phone. There's also support for Quick Charge 3.0, which made charging back the phone a lot faster. With light usage like just checking mails, the regular social media loitering, few minutes of phone calls and so on, it ended up reaching 5% charge at the end of 2 days. With moderate to heavy usage, which includes a few more phone calls, streaming media, using navigation, some gaming, the Note 3 managed to stay alive for a day and a half. Speaking of gaming, the performance here was top-notch. The Adreno 512 GPU held up really well. Even with intense titles like Asphalt, I hardly came across stutters or frame drops. The smooth performance was reflected while performing other tasks as well. Apps opened up quick, there was absolutely no lag whatsoever. Be it while browsing the web or scrolling through my Twitter or Instagram feed. Of course, some intense tasks might run better with an 835 chip underneath, but the 660 has put up a comparable score on the board. The user experience was just spectacular. There's 6 gigs of RAM that made sure those apps that I opened and used didn't reload the next time I opened them. The RAM management was excellent, had almost every app in memory. Multitasking was a walk in the park, especially with the split-screen multitasking feature that Xiaomi finally introduced in MIUI 9. Not just that, there are a lot more features MIUI 9 has in store. We have a dedicated video on the list of top features that MIUI 9 brings with it. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. Check it out. The short version is we have dual apps, which lets you create a second instance of an app. There's face unlock like on the OnePlus 5T, and it's quite fast and accurate. My favorite MIUI 9 feature is the easy home screen management. Deleting multiple apps or moving them is a breeze. Given the huge list of first-party apps this phone comes with, it was really helpful while moving everything to a folder and leave them be. We also have some handy reassignable button shortcuts. I've set long press back to turn on the torch, long press home to launch the camera, and so on. Speaking of camera, the Mi Note 3 sports dual 12-megapixel cameras, the exact same setup found on the Mi 6. One's a regular shooter with an f1.8 aperture, and the other one has a telephoto lens with an f2.6 aperture for 2x lossless zoom and portrait mode shots like these. Needless to say, the background blur and the edge detection have been executed perfectly. These cameras are amongst the best when it comes to portrait mode pictures. Even the regular shots are amazing, and that's expected, because it's basically a Mi 6 camera, right? There's a ton of detail, the specks of dust could be seen here. The dynamic range is excellent when HDR is turned on. Unfortunately, there's no auto HDR option in the camera app. The bokeh game is strong too given the f1.8 aperture. The color reproduction is excellent, they look very natural and true to life. When it comes to low light performance, I'd rate the OnePlus 5T's camera higher than this, but the difference isn't all that huge. The Note 3 can get some good shots too. They are moderately sharp and bright. It's worth mentioning that there's also a manual mode tucked in the camera app. Xiaomi's gone with a different sensor for selfies. It's a 16-megapixel f2.0 camera and it gets the job done. The selfies are extremely sharp and have good skin tones. The dynamic range though is average. The Mi Note 3 can shoot 4K videos at 30 frames per second. There's 4-axis optical image stabilization, hence the extremely stable footage. There's no issues with focusing, it's fast and smooth. The quality of the footage itself is great. There's a great deal of detail with natural colors and good dynamic range. It's worth mentioning that you cannot switch to the secondary camera while shooting. So with everything done and dusted, let's now talk about that twist in the tail I was talking about in the beginning. Yes, the Mi Note 3 and the Mi 6 are priced equally, but then they're official prices and not the ones that we'd probably end up paying. If we were to discuss just the official prices, then hands down the Mi 6 is the way to go, unless you really badly want that larger display. But a few minutes of research told me that the actual price that we might end up paying for a Mi Note 3 is about $320, around $100 less than what we'd pay for a Mi 6, be it on AliExpress, Gearbest or Banggood. And at that price, I feel the Mi Note 3 is a deal to steal. And if you're lucky, you might end up paying just 2,000 or 3,000 rupees for customs. So, I think this is the best phone under 25,000 rupees. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. And wait, I also think giving a verdict would have been a lot easier for me if the Mi Note 3 launched in India in the first place. Again, why Xiaomi? Anyway, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and hit that subscribe button down below for more like this. Do this to make sure you get notified each time a video goes live on the channel. Thanks a lot for watching. This is Sundar from C4E Tech, leaving for the moment. Have a great day.